glittery, isn't it?
It is. Yes,
I don't look at it usually for very long. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Mark.
And this is Smokey Steve and Marc.
Ah, yes, it is.
Welcome or welcome back.
Yes. Nice to see you.
Nice to be seen.
Yeah, right?
Oh, while we're here, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can get all the alerts and also find out when we go live.
Yes, please.
While you're there, hit the like button. If you want, you know. So, oh, I don't want to be a pushy, you know.
No. I like the switching of it to the beginning as opposed to the end.
I know, but
like there's so much we say.
I know, but
end.
I've had the same script for years.
I know.
It's not coming off rapid fire like it used to.
It's not. I know. Every time we try to switch it up a little bit, it's like, what do we do?
At any rate.
But anyway, yes, it's super nice to see you. We are on hump day. We made it halfway through the week.
Yes, we are. Thank God.
And I got couple days to go, and then I'm on vacation.
Yes, you are. And then I may be on vacation. I'll see what I'm doing
Well,
with my time.
I hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
At least part of it, you're going to be on vacation.
Well, for some of it, I don't have a week to take.
Like,
so.
if you work from home, couldn't you work from home at the beach?
I hadn't thought about it that way. But thing is, though, I totally wouldn't be. I would be taking advantage of the fact that they're letting me work at home.
Well, yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do? But sit in the sand with my cell phone? Like,
well, I know. Well, it was a thought.
I could. I don't think.
I mean, how do they know if you're in a hotel room or if you're on your chair?
Yeah, but when am I working exactly during all of that?
Well, whenever. I mean, you would have to work.
I don't think they'd go for it.
But we'd already be where we're at, so we would, you know, like, we would have the evening in a new place.
Between lobster rolls, I'm like doing advocacy calls. That would be nice.
That kind of thing.
It would be nice. It would be nice.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, but today we have part 3 of our recovery stories for you, and it is both of us together.
Part 3, Marc and Steve.
Yeah, part 1 was Steve's story, part 2 was my story, and part 3 is us together, where we will answer some of your questions that you sent us, talk about, I guess, our life now.
Yeah.
And maybe the future a little?
Maybe.
I guess we could talk about that.
I don't know much about it yet.
I don't know much about it either, but, you know.
Take a guess.
With some ideas.
Yeah.
So, where to begin?
Well, I wanted to touch on, our videos.
Yes.
Now, I only saw a few minutes of yours, and you didn't watch mine at all.
That's not true. I watched some of yours. I mean, I guess I watched the whole thing in, like, pieces.
I mean, frankly, you've lived a lot of it.
I have.
And you were there around the beginning, because I met you in
Rehab.
So, but when
I mean, I guess the most important thing about us being together here in part 3 is to restate that we absolutely met in addiction. I mean, we met in rehab.
Yeah. You were about 5 days clean, probably, when I met you.
Yeah.
Now, I had a head up. I was about, like, 3 weeks clean.
Yeah.
I was in a rehab prior to meeting you.
Yeah, and then you went to that one, yeah.
So I was much more sage and wise.
Yes,
you know.
he was.
I tried to help you out and lead you on the way. I was, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were just lost.
I was lost.
You were lost. But no, we had met there. But we didn't hook up there.
No.
We ended up going our own ways and getting our, you know, respective shit together and then hooking up later as friends for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
kept in contact that whole time, and then, but anyway, that's kind of how this all ties in together. It's like, it's a very, I guess, pertinent for us, because we did meet in rehab, in addiction, in this whole recovery story.
Yeah,
so.
and you get close to people quick in rehab.
In a setting like that, you do.
You do. So, like, you learn all the dirt fast about people. Like,
About
what are
each
your
other
inner secrets and your dark,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So
You do.
You get close fast, and then you're yanked apart, and then, so that's how we ended up together.
Yeah.
But by the time we were together, we were also both in recovery. Me, very new I think. It was not... Oh, no, it was a while. It was
You
like
mean
2
later,
years.
after we met you?
After.
Oh, after, because you had relapsed. I had relapsed myself.
Yeah.
Then I had gotten clean, went to another facility, and then I was clean before I moved to Carbondale.
And then when he had moved in, about 4 months later, I was like, well, I'm a wreck. So I went to jail, and then I went to rehab and came back. And that was something I wanted to mention in the video that I didn't bring up during it. And somebody had commented. So I drank, and then I went to jail, and then I went to rehab. This last bit, and this was in 2012. There was no big moment. There was no big burning bush, heart to heart with a family member, huggy intervention. There was nothing like that. There was nothing grand. So I don't know that I was looking for something like that all those years, but it was very matter of fact that I started getting better. There was, so I just, you know, if anyone's thinking, you know, what's going to be that thing that changes everything? Sometimes it's nothing.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it's like, well, how much sicker can I get
Sometimes,
without dying?
I mean, there's a lot of talk about you have to hit rock bottom before you get well. I personally don't believe that. I think you can get well at any point of your addiction. Like you said, I don't think there's, sometimes there is no defining moment, you know, that causes it. I think the important thing, I guess, along those lines would be to keep trying, because you don't know when that moment will happen. You don't know when it'll, you know, quote, take, so to speak, you know. But like you said, there was no, it just kind of happened. You know, and I mean, that's kind of the way it was for me too, you know.
For me, it was just the right combination of I was a little bit willing to try something. The appropriate help was available, because I was willing before, but the kind of help that was going to help me wasn't there. And I was properly motivated, because it would have been an escape charge had I left.
Had you left, yeah.
Had I left the rehab early. And I never went AMA. I was always star patient.
I know, me too.
I was always star patient. Everyone's like, he's got a long road ahead of him. He's going to be just fine.
I know.
They said that at all 6 of them that I went to.
Totally thrive in a, you know, in an institutional setting.
Yeah.
It's in the application of all the things that I learned in those settings where I had tended to go wrong.
And had I gone on much longer, I would have been easily one of those folks who got addicted to, like, attention in treatment. I've been to rehab with people who've been there a dozen times, because they like the environment.
Another phenomenon, yes.
They like the environment. I've met
like
that.
it,
On the mental health side, I've known folks who love the inpatient unit so much, because it's very quiet, it's calm, safe, it's away from the world, it's, you know, a totally different environment. So, as people in recovery, and it's interesting because I know some other folks on YouTube who are also both addicts and alcoholics in recovery, which I guess means I'm a family member too. Because if you're an addict, I'm a family member.
Well, yeah.
But you're,
of course,
but you're also a family member.
Yeah, right.
And an addict.
Right.
It's a weird relationship going that way.
Yeah, it is when you think about it that way.
Because I can be the one who's sick, but I also might be the one who's the caretaker, too.
Right. Well, I mean, like, my first experience with being on the other side, I was always the sick one. I was always the one that that affected other people, that other people had to help me. You know, my first experience with those roles being reversed was with you. I never had experienced the other side of it before. Yeah. You know, so it's an interesting perspective on all of that, you know, and you kind of understand both sides of it when you experience both sides of it. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, oh, wow, you know, no, this doesn't feel good. No. You know, like, you know, that type of a thing. It's interesting.
I think it's weird. It creates a level of compassion that isn't there from someone who maybe doesn't get it, but it also allows you to sniff right through the bullshit. Yeah. Definitely. You can check out the dramatics when someone gets caught, you know, doing, and the crying and the histrionics and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, but you just wanted to get high. Yeah. I know, it's COVID. Yeah, you wanted to get high. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But, so you can kind of see through all that, which is fine. You can do that in a loving, compassionate way. You don't have to treat someone like garbage when they're having a hard time. I know. But you don't need to coddle them either. Right. You know, there's somewhere in the middle there's a firm, compassionate approach to helping people, I think. I agree. That's how I roll. Yeah. Anyway, so we did have some questions.
Yeah, we did. So you touched on what you wanted to touch about in your video, right?
Yeah. Oh, you had something too. Didn't you?
In my video.
Wasn't there something you wanted to...
Oh, just to recap, it kind of goes in with question. Well, not really. I had spent some time in my video talking about my childhood and the trauma that I experienced as a child, and I just, you know, I wanted to say that it was very important to my story to say those things because it directly impacted, like, what happened with me later on in life with addiction. Yeah. Like, I think it happens with a lot of people, but I do think that a lot of times that is overlooked. Like, I think that, you know, quitting drugs, going to rehab, I mean, I think, you know, I think that's Band-Aids. Like, putting the drug down, absolutely necessary. Yeah. But I think it's a Band-Aid. I really think to have the most success that a person can in recovery, it needs to be approached in all those different ways. And for mine, it was, you know, the emotional scarring from my childhood, you know, the self-worth, the self-esteem, that, you know, things like that. When, you know, you can get help dealing with the inception or the root of the problem, so to speak, more so, you know, I really think that that is an important component that is often overlooked in treatment.
Yeah.
And I think it's one that really, I think more attention should be put on.
Yeah,
you know,
agree.
I mean, I get it. I mean, they put attention on getting you off of the drugs. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, you have to do that. But they're 99% of the time, you know, there's an underlying cause to the reasons why we use drugs, you know.
There's something.
There's something
Something
there,
under there.
and if people say, no, you know, I just wanted to get high, you know, I've said that many times. Look, I just wanted to get high. I just wanted that feeling. I just, you know, well, no, there's something to that.
Yeah.
You know, there is absolutely, why do you want to feel that way? You know, why, you know.
What was the feeling you didn't want to feel?
That you didn't want to
That
feel.
you chased away.
And again, everybody is unique. Everyone has their own story. Everyone is, their treatment should be different and everything.
Should be individualized.
Yeah, I mean, a person that says, "Oh no, I just wanted to get high." I mean, if you think about a person who starts using drugs at a very young age, 15, 16 years old, you know, when you start using drugs like that, you stop growing emotionally. I believe this. And so, you know, they miss out on that period in life where they're experimenting and having fun and like coming to be, you know, they kind of lose out on all that.
Yeah.
So then, you know, when they say to me, "Oh, I know, I just want to get high. I just like it. I just," you know, I think that's one of the possible reasons is that you did not experience the things that you know, could and probably should have experienced during those years.
Yeah, you miss out.
You know, it's like a person that gets into a serious long-term relationship at, like, you know, 15 or 16 years old. They don't have the experience of dating and knowing what it's like to meet other people in a romantic way.
Yeah.
They don't come to be sexually lovingly and emotionally with another person. You know, they don't have those things, you know. So, you know, it's not surprising that one person or the other may have a wandering eye or may not be happy in that relationship or whatever. You know, I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just trying to make an example of, you know. But I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't either.
Well, I was saying that there is an underlying
issues
that need to be addressed, in my opinion. That's where therapy comes in, and that's, you know,
exactly
like that.
The mind part of it. And for me, the bigger part of using was the freedom from the obsession of it, from constantly thinking about it. Every day was a constant battle of stop thinking about it, busy yourself, do something else with it. You know if you know sober people, the ones that are like constant motion, can't sit still, on their 8th coffee and chain smoking, because if they sit still for 2 seconds, they're going to think about it. That's no way to live. That's no way to live.
It's not. And you can't maintain that for a long period of time.
And you can do it for a while, and you're going to bug the shit out of everyone you know.
Yeah, but ultimately it's...
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, you're right. We had some questions. I wrote mine down from the emails.
I screenshotted mine from YouTube.
On your phone. So we will...
and if you had one that we missed, leave it below this one.
Definitely, yeah.
And we'll do part 4 continued at some point.
Yeah. Why not?
All right. You want to go first?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, we can start with this one because it's, we can both answer this one for sure. And I had 3 of them that were pretty much the same. So I kind of just put it into one question here. And basically what it was is, I have a family member, my son, who is using drugs badly, you know, blah, blah, he does this, that, da, 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 da. He's an active addiction. Do you have any suggestions of what I can do or what I should not do in this situation?
Oh, God.
And there was a few questions like that, you know, what do I do, you know, and what don't I do, you know?
Well, good for being thoughtful about what you don't do.
Yeah. Yes.
Because not everyone's concerned with what doesn't help.
Yeah. I will say, you know, 2 things that first popped into my mind when I read these questions was, and I have experienced this too. One thing is that it's hard to do, but you got to put yourself first. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself during all of this. If you go down that rabbit hole too, and I don't mean with drugs, although that can happen too, emotionally down, you know, you won't even need this, you won't even be able to help, you know, and you're going to suffer yourself in some way, emotionally, whatever way, you know, you gotta make sure that you're taking care of yourself first. And one thing that popped into my head was that kind of Carol O'Connor mentality, so to speak, where all of your anger and resentment and frustration is aimed at the drug dealer or the friend who maybe gives your loved one the drugs, and you go after that person.
He was
you
fine
go
till
after the dealer. Yeah, I would just warn you to kind of steer away from that. This is about the person who is addicted, and it doesn't matter if that person is the one providing the drug to them or not. They will find the drug anywhere if that person wasn't there, so to speak. So the anger and all that, it can't be directed at the dealer. I mean, obviously you're going to be angry at you know, the friend or the dealer or whatever, all that. But, you know, like Carol O'Connor, I mean, what did he want to do, blow his head off or something like that? And he got in trouble legally over it and all that. It does not end well if you go after that person, you know. No. And it gets you nowhere except more frustration.
No. I think it's challenging to say, every situation is so unique. Like in my circumstances, my parents let me stay in their home, but I had no access to money, mine or anybody else's, and they throw me a pack of smokes, like a day, sometimes two, and I could eat there, and that was pretty much it. And I was just hanging out, and I would sneak booze and steal and get it from here and there. For reasons they know, probably because I had mental health concerns, they didn't put me out. I've had families call me at work, at my job, and say I have a family member, they're not doing well, they're getting violent, they're stealing from me. This person may have an illness, a disease, a compulsion, they're using. Nobody has the right to hit you in the face for any reason. No. You know, their behavior, their addiction may explain their behavior, but it doesn't excuse it.
Right.
And I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to tell you it's easy to call the cops on your kid.
Right.
I'm not. But every time there's no consequence to a behavior, it'll happen again or it'll escalate. And it'll keep escalating and keep escalating. And especially, we were talking, if you have other children in the house, if you're a parent, you know, you're responsible for everybody's care. You know, not addressing one could compromise your custody of the others. You know,
True,
there could be other things going on.
Yeah, there could be other issues. You know, dealing with other members in the household, definitely.
Dealing with a spouse who's an addict could be very, very different too, or a partner. You know, don't think you're going to change someone. You won't.
Right.
You won't. You can provide support. You can encourage.
Yeah.
But
and only you know when, you know, the time has come, whenever you have had enough. And you got to listen to that inner voice, you know. And I also, you know, I recommend don't keep it to yourself, you know, confide in a colleague, confide in a friend, confide in a therapist or someone professionally. There's 1-800 numbers out there. There's help readily available for people who are dealing with addiction in the family. So, you know, if you feel overwhelmed, don't make that decision on your own. Sometimes it does come down to tough love. Sometimes there's no other alternative. You know, sometimes that happens. And it may save their life. You kick them out, say you've had enough, you're cut off. And sometimes...
I've seen it both ways. I've seen family members have an intervention and the person leaves and goes to rehab and they come back and they're fine. And I've seen it where the family members throw the person out and they overdose in a week.
Yeah.
And they pass away. I mean, that's not good news.
It's not good news.
But things pan out differently for different
reasons, because every situation and person is unique.
And sometimes people think rehab's the only answer. A person addicted to opiates may steer better into medication-assisted treatment and stay in the community rather than be removed, especially if they have an addiction problem but they're employed and still have their families. Sometimes it's better to stay in the community and keep the rest of your structured life and get some medication and help at the outpatient level. Yeah. So there's a lot of different resources that families should be aware of, I think, too, for the individual. It's not always get in the car, we'll see you in 28 days.
Yeah,
that's not always the answer. If they need a detox, maybe. But, you know.
Especially, like, dealing with loved ones, that, you know, it's so entangled with emotions and love and resentment and hate and frustration and not knowing what to do. You know, it's very difficult to make a rational decision on what to do. And I think, you know, you need a lot of patience. But, I mean, if it crosses the line where people are getting hurt, you know, action absolutely needs to be taken, and that's where tough love comes in, you know. I mean, I don't know, I had a lot of support during my addiction. I mean, at the end, I did end up alone by myself, because I had alienated everybody, you know. I mean, at that time, I said everyone alienated me, but that was not the case.
I was great at that. I'd be like, get out, go away, leave me alone. And then the next breath, see, I knew you'd all abandon me.
Yes. You know, so I don't know. I did have a lot of support up pretty much till the end. And then, you know, the tough love came in. And, you know, so, yeah, and in my case, it didn't work. You know, I went on for a few years after that, still in and out of rehab, still in and out of recovery, still using and doing all those things, you know.
I've had parents who said, you know, through the grapevine that the best thing they did was call their kid's probation officer, and they ended up in jail, and the parents were relieved because at least they knew they were safe that night. And sometimes I got involved in corrections because I had 2 DUIs, and I was sentenced to 5 years. I was court-ordered. Now, you don't have to go through your treatment. You can blow off treatment and then sit off your time in jail. But I was compelled, another reason I was compelled to follow through with treatment, which eventually took, and eventually I started getting better. So it was one way I kind of meandered into recovery, was being engaged in that. So don't, you know.
Like they say, I don't want everyone to also get hung up on the fact that, you know, the person who is addicted, that, you know, it's that they have to want to quit, period, before anything happens. I say, whatever way it happens, let it happen. Like in your case, you were incarcerated. Not by your own, you know, of course not by your own will, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wasn't my idea that day.
But it gave you the time to accept it and to have it be more willing to do it, so to speak.
Yeah, I spent 3 weeks in jail before I got to the rehab, so it made me had some distance away from things to think, this is how things could turn out if I don't, you know, do some stuff. So,
but I guess the number one recommendation would be to absolutely don't keep it to yourself. Share with somebody else, you know, a trusted friend or a colleague or a professional to get advice for your unique situation. Don't try to take it on yourself, you know.
All right. Then what am I?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a few tied together, but they're all in the same one. I have some questions about your recovery. Do you avoid portrayals of addiction in movies or TV? Do you think addiction is accurately portrayed in the media? Any examples of good or bad depictions from media? A few years ago, I watched old movie The Lost Weekend with Ray Milland. Its depiction of alcoholism is quite harrowing, though I found how this issue was resolved to be a bit unrealistic. It's sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes movies get it right. Requiem for a Dream, the movie, was a bit grand.
It was a bit grand,
it was, I mean, that's a go-to for a lot of people. It was a bit over the top, but, you know, sort of there. I don't like to watch Intervention too much. I used to love Intervention. But it got to be a little triggering for me after a while.
Yeah, I can't watch Intervention.
And I'm not easily triggered. I can usually sit through anything. I mean, it's not a bother, but I couldn't really, because there's not a lot of recovery at the end. And Intervention shows, but it does show the reality of addiction. You can go on YouTube and find a photo montage of all the people on Intervention who died. Yeah. As a result of their addiction, either by overdose, kidney failure, died by suicide. So it does portray that reality, but it's not in the episode, because people, you know, die after the fact. And they may have been people who completed treatment. So they don't show the full story in that people can go get help, get well for a while, and then die. Right. So on a show like that, I don't think it shows the full picture. I think it shows a rosy portrait of 12-step programs.
And it's pretty, it's pretty graphic, and, you know, I mean, it's pretty you know, if you want to see what it's really like, I would say Intervention is pretty graphic as far as the, you know, going through it and the using part and what the, you know.
I did see myself there, though. There was a woman who was addicted to drinking Listerine, and she was a train wreck.
Oh, yeah.
And I never saw someone like that, like, on TV, ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Even in rehab, it was people's guilty little secret among the alcoholics.
Yeah.
I said it once in a meeting, and 3 guys came up after and were like, I used to do that, too. It's like, we're in rehab, and there's still taboos.
I know.
Sheesh.
I know. It doesn't... at the beginning, it did bother me to see things in the media or on TV about it, especially like how commercialism and all that like kind of glamorizes it, you know, and you know you don't have to look too far to see a music video with people using drugs and things like that. But now it doesn't bother me at all. Now, I do have some distance from my active addiction days, you know, so no, it doesn't bother me to watch it, but for whatever reason, I can't watch Intervention myself either. It does bother me.
The thing is, though, even though my drug of choice was alcohol, I can actually watch the drinkers on Intervention. I can't watch the IV drug users, even though that wasn't my thing. It's too... too much, can't do it. But accurately portrayed when you see it on like Law and Order. And I mean, there's only so many shows where it comes up, and I don't know.
It's I think 50-50. Some it's accurate, some it's
like
not.
In Saved by the Bell when Jesse Spano freaked out on the speed and was singing "I'm so excited and I just can't hide it." That's not what that's like. That's not what that's like. Yeah. So all right.
I do think that the media, TVs, things like that, I think they show a more rosy portrait of it than it is overall.
They put a bow on it at the end.
Yeah.
And there's no bow on it at the end. I mean, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad, but it's ongoing. You know? All right. What do you got?
All right. Okay, this is also, there were 2 that I put in one. Okay. First of all, are there any programs or support groups out there for us of a person? Okay, is there any support groups or programs out there for family members or people who have a family member in active addiction? And then the second question that goes on with this is, do you recommend Al-Anon? So, Al-Anon would be one of them.
Nar-Anon is another one. In bigger cities. We're kind of in the sticks, so it's limited. But for family members of those who are addicted or alcoholic. I would throw in there, too, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, because a lot of folks are, have co-occurring mental health and drug and alcohol issues. And if your family member does have that, it's open to family members, consumers, whoever. Almost every county in a lot of areas has one, and they meet usually a couple times a month at least. That's a good place to meet other family members who are also struggling and find out what worked for them and what didn't. Al-Anon is
out of all of them, that's the one that I was like,
my mother went to
cool with.
My mom went to that. My mom also went to Al-Anon, and it's a 12-step model. So it's based around the same steps that Alcoholics Anonymous is based around. My mother went a couple times and chose not to go again. My father went once and never went again.
Yeah.
But there's also friends she has where they are like they are their family. Like they're on the phone with each other all the time. This happened, I need support. Hey, can we go for a cup of coffee? I just need to vent, can you listen? And they still have sponsorship, which is like mentoring kind of to take you through the steps. So yeah, it's worth a shot if you've never been. I mean, see if you like it, see if you don't.
It's worth a shot. I'm not big on Al-Anon, even now that I'm sober, but, well, like I said with the other 12-step programs, it works for some people. It's helped probably thousands and thousands of people, but it's not for everybody, you know? I would recommend seeking out multiple places. I wouldn't maybe just stick with Al-Anon and going with exactly what they're saying without doing your research first, you know, because like AA, they kind of have a one-lane kind of, what do you call it, you know, point, like a one way to do this, you know, and it's tough love is what it is, basically. But, you know, yeah, no, I would give it a shot.
Yeah, it's worth it. And if you don't like it,
a great one.
Yeah.
And there's probably other support groups in your local community, too, that we don't know about, that we don't mention, you know.
Yeah, and if it's an open meeting of AA, you can go.
You can go.
You don't, anything,
they're open, yeah.
If you get a list from your local drug and alcohol provider or from the county of local 12-step meetings, anything that says O or open is open to anybody. You don't, if they say, are there any newcomers here, you don't have to put your hand up. You don't have to announce. You just sit in the back and listen.
Yeah.
If that helps you get insight into maybe what else might be going on in other people's lives. Yeah. So, check it out.
Cool.
You know, my dad checked it out? No. I checked it out, I was there for a few years, and it got me off to a decent start. I don't go now. I manage it a different way. But, alright.
I have one last one, and do you have any more?
I have one more after this.
Okay.
This is a longer video, but
well,
it's both of us.
Yes.
So, instead of our usual 20 minutes each, you'll get us for a full 45.
Oh, well, let's hope not. That's a long video.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay. Let me see. Well, I'll read this one. Just wondering, Mark, if you have any idea what a brave, sweet, inspiring, amazing person you are. That's the question.
Oh, well, thanks for putting that in there. Well, thank you so much for saying that.
It was a legitimate question.
Well, no, actually, I didn't. To be honest, thank you.
Okay. Next question. Steve, you're unrecognizable in your mugshot. Well, thank you. That's good too.
I know.
That comment about the dead guy's phone numbers was sad. I mentioned that you sign people's big books when you leave treatment.
Yeah.
I watched Marc's video, and he said that different things work for different people. I'm curious what your thoughts about how the system handles addicted people with DUIs and other crimes relating to drugs and alcohol. There must be a better system than what we do.
I agree.
I have a few opinions. Yes, the drug and alcohol, there's no treatment really in jail. Like at the county level, there's not. Where most people locally, pre-sentence.
You may get a 12-step meeting.
If the prison allows in 12-step meetings, there might be, here in the jail, the local drug and alcohol provider has classes once a week, and usually just the guys who haven't been sentenced on their drug charges go because it looks good at sentencing. We have treatment court programs in this county. It's actually very progressive. So if you're arrested for a charge, like your first DUI, you could get accelerated rehabilitative disposition. You go through a program for 9 months, it's gone off your record. Gone. It doesn't happen beyond that. So, like I said, getting involved in the system actually routed me into treatment in a less than voluntary sort of way. I mean, we always have choices. I could have blown off treatment and just sat in jail. Yeah. You know, that was an option to me. People say, I don't have a choice, I have to be here. We always have choices. Yeah. Sometimes they all suck, but we always have choices. So I think it was a big deal. I do think there's a disproportionate number of people in treatment who get offered treatment who are white. And people who go to... When I was in the county jail, over half the people there were people of color. When I was in treatment, there was like 1 or 2. Yeah. And the explanation that was given was that the crimes were different for the individuals. So as far as our county is concerned, absolutely no people of color are addicted to drugs and need rehabilitation. Yeah, it's all the suburban kids addicted to pills. But that's a social justice issue for another thing. But they do try to rehabilitate people, mandate treatment. Yeah. I mean, give them urine tests all the time to make sure they're in good standing, in good shape. Some of it's unreasonable. We live in a semi-rural area, and they want people to be there at 6 in the morning to take a urine test. There's no buses in some of the areas around here.
Some of them, that's their transportation.
And if you live in a very rural state, it'd be very difficult to try to comply with all that kind of stuff. So...
And I mean, I do think that the system overall, I think, is changing. You know, a person that gets caught with, I don't know, a dime-sized bag of marijuana, like, should they go to jail? I mean, you know, like, I don't know. You know, but I do think that and I hope that I'm right with this, I do think the legal system regarding people who are addicted and have, you know, addiction issues, I think that it's changing. I've been trying to keep up with it at work. Yeah. And, you know, I just think that, you know, the jails are filled with people who need help with addiction, you know, that would do much better getting the rehabilitation they need. I don't know, you know, but like the person asked, you know, it seems like it needs to be overhauled. It needs to be changed. I agree completely.
Yeah.
And I think we're slowly starting to see that. Let's get the people the help that they need instead of just incarcerating them.
Yeah.
But we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Here's hoping.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Yeah.
So.
And
then I had one last one that was a comment I liked. All right. Addiction brings us together. I'm a middle-aged, conservative, Christian Southern woman, and we may have different opinions on a lot, but I love how our stories are so different, yet the feelings are so same. I love you both. No, thank you. And I'm glad you shared your story. This journey is great. I may not always be pretty, but I love that I can take it with y'all. Now, thank you. Now, the first thing I thought was you could take the first sentence off that, and it would still be true.
Yeah.
I'm a middle-aged conservative woman, and our stories are different, but the feelings are the same. That's true all around.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in addiction, because you have those shared feelings, and then act on them.
Well, I mean, addiction itself is not discriminatory. It doesn't matter what your race, your age, your sex,
whether you sleep on your back or on the street,
Democrat or Republic, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. Rich, poor.
No, it doesn't. No, you know. I've been in treatment with all sorts of folks. Takes all kinds.
Nice comment. Thank you.
That is a nice comment, and it makes a very good
fantastic,
point too. It makes an excellent point. It's not everything you said. It's not a red state, blue state, an atheist Christian, a gay straight issue. It pulls a thread. And one of the reasons I did like AA meetings is because it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting there next to a bunch of bikers, next to a woman crocheting, next to like
a 90-year-old
two
guy,
tweens paying on their
bit.
Yeah, and you wonder, they're 16, how are they even in here?
I know, right?
And they've been to rehab 4 times. I mean, it takes all kinds. And there's a kind of no passing of judgment in a good meeting like that, because it's like, I know. There's like a knowing look of recognition. It's like, I know what it's like. I get it. So I appreciated that comment. I thought it kind of summed it all up nicely.
I'm glad you said that. That was a nice comment. I didn't read that one. That was nice.
Yeah. So I don't know that I have too much more to say.
I have my last question that I did want to answer was, again, there was a bunch of them, but essentially it is, Mark, you mentioned MAT. Could you explain to us what is MAT? And then the second question was, are you on MAT for life, for the rest of your life? Good questions, very good questions. I did share that I used MAT when I got sober, and it stands for Medication-Assisted Treatment or Therapy. It could go either way, but it's treatment. And it's just another tool that they give you as a drug. And those drugs can be, their names are Suboxone, Methadone, Subutex, Vivitrol, alcoholics had Antabuse, Naltrexone.
I take Naltrexone.
And each one is a little bit different, but, you know, essentially the most popular one nowadays for the treatment of opioid dependency is Suboxone. And it is a combination of buprenorphine, which is essentially a painkiller. It's an opiate. It's an opioid. And naloxone, which and what it does is you know, it's a combination of medications that it ultimately blocks the receptors in your brain from absorbing the opiate. Essentially is what it is. Now Vivitrol is the straight blocker, and that is something you get a shot of once a month. Naltrexone is a pill that you can take once a day that does the same thing.
That's what I take.
Naltrexone has been wonderful for alcoholics. The Vivitrol tends to work better for opiate addicts, and the progression of it is that, you know, you're addicted, you're given Suboxone during detox, and it takes away all of the you know, withdrawal symptoms and the painful part of coming off of drugs. You know, it eases that a lot, and then you're kind of titrated off of that, and then you are put on the Vivitrol for once a month, and the Vivitrol basically makes it impossible to get high from taking any type of opiate. Now, Antabuse is a little different. Antabuse is a pill that alcoholics will take, that if they drink, they get violently ill.
The military used to like that back in the day when they would treat internally their
not
drinkers.
quite as popular today for good reasons.
No, it's a treatment of last resort.
Last resort treatment, yeah. Methadone is still around, not quite as popular. They've been having very, very good results with Suboxone and Subutex. And the doctor's office where I work at, we specialize in those medications. We don't use antabuse, and we do not use methadone. But we've had great success with the other medications. And that is just another tool. And that combined with therapy has really changed recovery.
Yeah, it's an evidence-based practice.
It is an evidence-based practice, and it's changed. I mean, there's been a lot of success with it, a lot of success, myself included. Are you on it for life? It's relatively new. I think the studies go back about 14 years now on it, so they don't have really long-term studies on it, but it's up to yourself and your healthcare provider. There's people who titrate off of it. It's not a drug that you can just completely stop taking immediately. You have to titrate off of it, and it's a very long titrate, like a year, you know, for the most success from it. Or you can choose to be on it continually. So that's a decision that, you know, you don't have to be, but some people do, some people don't, you know. So, but more results will be coming in, you know, from the studies as the years go on, you know. So I absolutely recommend it. I mean, it saved my life, literally. But, you know, again, it does come with, there's drawbacks to it too. People do get it and sell it. People do, you know. Yeah,
it gets diverted into the street.
It does. You know, they
that's drugs.
You know, yeah, addicts are crafty people. They found ways to sell it. They found ways to
I'll sell you my
take it apart
and use the money to buy meth.
Right, you know, there's, you know, all different ways. But, I mean, overall, it's been very positive and very effective. And I mean...
I like my naltrexone. It's good. I had a shot of Vivitrol after my first rehab because they were thinking experimentally maybe it would help.
Yeah.
Ooh, that hurt. Couldn't sit for 2 days.
Yeah, it hurts.
It hurts.
It's a once a month
shot. It's like 3 times tetanus shot. Hurt.
But the major benefit of Suboxone and Vivitrol and naltrexone is the curbing of the cravings. It was the only thing I ever experienced that removed the cravings for me. So, and you have the same experience with it. The cravings, you know.
I have to be careful, though. I don't know if it's psychosomatic or not, but there's been days I've missed a couple doses. Pharmacy was closed. I gotta wait. You know, and there's no physical withdrawal from naltrexone. You can't overdose on it. It's just what it is. But without it, I find it was helping me manage other impulse control kind of behaviors.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even binging. Like Contrave, that new drug. Is a mixture of Wellbutrin and naltrexone.
Yes.
So it controls those kind of behaviors.
That's the newest drug out, actually, that uses those.
They brought it up at the doctor's office. I'm like, this has got to be $1,800 a month.
I know.
So, you know, no way. But it's helped me with those kind of behaviors as well. They use it for people who have self-injury, too, to try to curb that.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful for me. It's probably one of the biggest tools I use to help manage that.
Well, I hope we answered your questions okay. We're not professionals, believe me. We're not at all, but I guess...
No, I'm the expert on my experiences.
Exactly,
That's what I got for you.
But today, you know, I mean, we don't have to tell you what our lives are like today. We share it with you every day. And, I mean, I guess you only have to watch, you know, a video or two to know that our lives are much different than they were 10 years ago.
And you've gone through, when I had a mental health concern, how we handle crisis.
Yes.
One jumps in. We plan ahead as best we can.
As best we can.
So for the mental health issue, we had already had a place picked out to go. Here's what it's going to look like when I'm sick, and you take over, and then we go. So if it was rehab, it would be
pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same.
We are a couple who are in a relationship who are both addicts, you know, so we had to come up with these things ahead of time should something go south, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on the lines of drug and alcohol addiction, you know, I mean, it's not unheard of for relapse to happen, you know, I mean, even with considerable time, you know, I mean, it can happen. And we have something in place for if that happens, you know. And much like we told you with the family member allowing someone to get away with things, you know, over and over again without consequences, it's kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if this happens, we do this. Now, I don't know. Like if I say to him, if you drink, we cannot be in the same house or whatever. You know, I will go to a motel or you have to leave, whatever. Like, and then if he drinks and I don't uphold that, then what does that show? You know what you know, so you have to be, you know, you have to have a plan in place and you have to stick with it, you know.
And understanding the nuances of addiction. Like you know, there's shame and there's secrets involved in addiction during a relapse.
It's
and
part of it.
And each of us might not behave like ourselves if we were using. Like if you happened to be, I would probably not take it too personally if you lied to me for about a week about it.
Right.
Because addiction involves some lying. So while I'd be hurt, I would understand.
Yeah.
And I think I only understand that because I've lied my ass off in the past too. So I could appreciate your position.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like you said, the bottom line pretty much is, okay, what do you do next?
Yeah.
If you don't do this, here's the consequences.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, here's the consequences. And then, you know, that's pretty much...
Because it's a fine line. You know, you definitely do not want to continue to enable somebody. Because then that kind of also puts it on you, you know.
Yeah.
But no, life is good. Like I said, you don't have to look at too many videos. You know?
There's days that go by, I don't think about it.
Absolutely, me too.
At all.
There is absolutely, if you're in the depths of it right now, there is absolutely hope. Absolutely there is. It is not, and it's not arbitrary. It's not for certain people and other people. It's not, it's for everybody and for you too, you know. I mean, it really is. So if there's anything that we want to drive home, I guess, is that there's absolutely hope.
You're looking at two dead men.
Yes.
Yes, these are two...
We, by all rights, should be dead.
We should. And the fact that I haven't killed myself or someone else by now is either a miracle or a joke. I'm not really sure which.
And the blessings have been abundant. I mean, you know...
When you start taking
healthy relationship.
When you start taking care of yourself and doing stuff, things really do just kind of
fall into place.
Whatever you believe or don't believe about the fate, future, God, or humanity, even if things aren't falling into place, it's so much easier to navigate them when you're not preoccupied with where am I going to score, where am I going to get a drink, how am I going to handle this sober, oh God, another wedding. You know, it's easier to get through life.
And we're both in a very grateful place where we don't struggle with the cravings and with thinking about it and with being preoccupied with with it, you know.
And we can have nice stuff now, too.
And we can have nice stuff, too.
This is a palace to me.
I mean, when you consider where we came from, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, definitely. No,
I have my own
my
shower. I don't have to share it with 90 guys.
Yep.
You know? I don't have to check in with a technician before I go to bed so they can check me for cuts.
Oh,
like,
right. You know.
You don't know. You don't know. And if you do, you know.
You know.
You know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess
we
talked long enough. I hope we did.
I'll try not to go apeshit with the commercials, even though it's a 50-minute video.
I know, I didn't mean for this to go long, but we had to tie it up. We did, so
we did.
You know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Please do subscribe, hit the like button and the bell on your way out. You can follow Marc and I on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Twitter, handle is at SmokeySteveA. Our email address and contact information is all listed down below us here. Thank you again, and I will catch up with you tomorrow for Life After Caretaking.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting week.
Yeah, it's been a scene, man.
Yeah, it has. Definitely. Remember, everybody, please stay safe, stay well, but above all else, stay positive, okay? We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Bye.